We're Pivot and Pet Creative. My name's Rebecca, and I'm the co-founder, and we're a branding agency, and we specialize in the food, beauty, and wellness businesses, and we help our clients stand out and capitalize on their first impression through branding, packaging design, website design, and ad campaigns.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm Alejandro Quinteros. I'm also a co-founder of Pivot and Pilot, and today we're very excited to be talking to industry leaders in the sustainability and product invention. So today we're talking about modern inventors, creating a sustainable product and bringing it to the market. And so maybe we can start talking a little bit about what we're seeing in the industry. As a branding agency, oftentimes we find our clients come to us and they are in search of packaging, but we have to inform them, what are in the past, people really didn't understand what packaging was, and now we're aware of what plastic, what single-use plastic and the harm of it on our environment, and people are making wise decisions now because they are informed now.
We're more than ever, people are really are conscious of what they're consuming, and they're voting with their dollars. So they're making sure that they are voting for brands that are interested in the well-being of our planet and the good of everyone. And that is a big deciding factor in the market, and it's also a big priority for a lot of brands, especially these ones. And I think that everyone on this panel today is a testament to the fact that even when it seems like everything's been done, there's always room for innovation. Each of these brands has taken something that exists and they've really innovated it and made something new
Definitely
for the market.
Yeah. So without further ado, maybe we can introduce our panelists today.
Yeah. So our first panelist joining us is Natalie Farrell. She is the founder of Well Kept, and Well Kept is a sustainable razor blade. It's an alternative to the disposable razors that we commonly see. I think in women's products in general, there's a lot of kind of throwaway pieces, and I feel like Natalie saw that. We'll learn more today, but she created actually a very beautiful razor blade, and it's not only sustainable, but it's a safety razor, and it actually ends up being a lot better for you and the planet. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also joining us today, we have JoAnn Fowler, a founder of Sappho New Paradigm. She is a veteran in the film and television makeup artist, and not to mention also someone who has been Emmy nominated and a recipient of the Leo Award. Sappho New Paradigm is a women-led luxury, vegan, and organic Canadian color cosmetic line tested and used by professionals. The company values ethical business, feminism, transparency of ingredients, diversity, honesty, and authenticity. Developed with experts in green formulation, it uses certified organic ingredients.
And our final speaker is Kim Thomson. She's the product operation manager at Native Shoes. Native Shoes is also an innovative company that is leading the way with sustainable repurposed shoes. She has worked for Native Shoes for 3 years, and she brings the experience and knowledge of sustainable footwear production to the conversation today.
So thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
So we'll jump right into the questions. But we first wanted to know, what was the initial push or inspiration behind creating your brands?
Yeah, I can start. I think kind of, as you mentioned, like shaving and beauty products for women, there's a lot of waste and there's a lot of disposable products. I'm sure you're familiar with that as well. But my business partner and myself, we were just kind of going through like a culling of our home or curating of our homes. And we were like, okay, what products align with our values in terms of sustainability, in terms of beautiful aesthetics, like what are the values that we want in our homes, in the products we're using? And the razor was something that just, we kept coming back to, that we're like, it's pink, plastic, disposable, it's kind of ugly. Like, we don't have any connection to this. Like, why are we using it? And Why is there nothing else? So then we went on this like big research hunt into shaving, which was something I would never really get into, and shaving for women, and realized there was this huge industry for men, and women probably shave more hair than men do. So why do we have such a small industry? And then we started testing different products, and that's where we came across the safety razor and wanted to make one that was specifically for women, because we had found a solution that we were really excited about. Besides which, it was also really sustainable.
Right.
Yeah.
I think for Native Shoes, it doesn't really have much to do with how the company started, but how the company is trying to move forward. When it boils down to it, Native Shoes is predominantly a company known for making plastic kids' shoes. It is what it is. But our new president, Kyle, came in 3 years ago and said that he wanted to run a company that was run by values. And one of those values that he felt really strongly about is sustainability. So how is this company going to tackle this really multifaceted issue? One of the ways we look at it is we're a fully vegan company. We don't use any animal products, and no leather, no horse hooves in the glue, nothing like that. And then as we continue to innovate, we're looking at more plant-based materials. How can we incorporate more recycled materials in the shoes themselves? And also, how can we take back these shoes and give them a kind of second life? So lots of innovation there.
Okay, well, I was a makeup artist on a show called The L Word in 2007. And an actress was sitting in my chair, and she had just got back from Europe, and she said, "Oh, JoAnn, I'm not going to have any more parabens and any more of my makeup." And I said, "Okay, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'll find out." So Mia Kirchner had been living in Paris at just the time when people were discovering the permeability of skin. And the first thing that I read was a paragraph that talked about there was over 350 chemicals found in the bloodstream. And these chemicals range from everything from parabens and phthalates, endocrine disruptors, to rocket fuel from the 1970s. And the test subjects were newborn babies across the United States, still in the hospital. So that was in 2008. And that's when the green beauty started. That's when the scientists went, holy crap, how's this getting into their bloodstream? And now we have patches. We have patches for hormones, we have patches for pain, we have patches for all sorts of things, for cigarette smoking. So what goes on your body can actually make its way into your bloodstream. And so my life changed that moment when I read that book. It was called Just Not a Pretty Face. And then once you know, you know. And so it keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper as we go. Our minerals are not mined by children. We have to look at where every single ingredient is coming from. This is my apology to your generation. I didn't know that I was putting this crap on people for 20, 30 years. I thought the FDA was taking care of me. I thought Health Canada was taking care of me. So what I learned was that it's up to the individual to take a look at what you're putting on your body, what you're putting in your body, what you're putting around your body, and take responsibility for learning that and then taking appropriate actions. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to create a little online store for me for when I retired. I'm 65 years old. I should be retiring. I am just finishing an investor debt to get bigger. It happened to me. So I was never wanting a business. I never had any intention of having a business. I was a makeup artist. So here I am, making a lot of mistakes. But like I said, is once you get into it, you know more, and you find out things like frosted glass is not recyclable, everybody. How did I know that? I was changing my bottles, and it took me like 3 months of like on, Googling till 4 a.m. and asking questions and finally getting to the actual, no, it's not recyclable. So, you have to do all your own work. So it just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And we keep getting, our motto is we get greener as we grow. So every time we take a step forward and we create a new product, we try and look at it in a 360 vision. And we're sometimes successful and sometimes we're not, but there's also only 2 of us. So it's a lot of work. And so anyway, that's Sappho, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, how did you guys come up with the names behind your brands? I know that for Native
really
it wasn't.
that.
Yeah, maybe it's more for you too.
Okay, well, Sappho is a poet from 530 BC. She was the first female poet to ever talk in first person, and she wrote about love. And Plato called her the most important poet of his time. And she was sexually fluid. And she sort of, she has this saying, she has this piece of her poetry. I just say that bitch has been around for 2,000 years. She's an artist, and she has a line that says, someday in another time, people will be talking about us. And so that's who Sappho is.
I was gonna say mine is so not as beautiful as that. It's shaving, it's well kept. It's kind of a joke, to be honest. We laugh that my business partner and I are like the least well kept people. We're like, oh, forgot to shave, like have hairy legs today, whatever. So it's for us, it's kind of a joke of being well kept that we aren't well kept. So there's no beautiful meaning, unfortunately, to our name. No.
But it speaks to what it is.
Yes, exactly.
I was going to ask you, you found out about the frosted glass just because of, living, but do you go somewhere to check on what is, or is there a site that you normally go to check these things?
No, I go down wormholes for days.
Yeah.
But then we also talk to the people at BCIT. We also, talk to experts about sustainability. We're hoping as we grow that we actually have, we're able to hire students that will actually help us to get into, like, there's a different projects that they have that they can help you test products against, how would this work in metal and, all that kind of stuff. So it could get very deep, but right now it's still just us doing.
Yeah. It's hard to, I think it is a very exciting trend that's happening. I think everyone's more aware about single-use plastic and materials. And it is a trend that we're all excited for. And it's great that it's becoming, like I said, information is more accessible now. And so people are getting more informed about this. But it's also not the cheapest option for a lot of people who might want to start a product. And that's something that, oftentimes we get clients like, I want it to be eco-friendly and sustainable, and I want it to biodegrade. And, when you put it on the floor and it, plants spread out, they want everything. But the reality is that these things are not the cheapest option, and that can be a big challenge. So, and I know your products are all the packaging is sustainable to some degree. So maybe how did you, what are your contacts given to me?
There are 2 of us.
2 of you.
That's all I'm going to say. There's 2 of us, and I've taken my paycheck is
Right.
Yeah. No, it's just love and passion. And we have, we make money on our product. And someday we will make enough that we will sustain, a group of people working. But that will come with, getting a bit bigger and selling a bit more and having the cash flow and all that kind of stuff. So right now it's still really very much like a labor of love and sacrifice. And it's not sacrifice, it's whatever, it's fun. It's makeup.
Yeah. If I can add to that, I think that it really does help that the conversation is becoming more prevalent in industry and even in schools. We do a lot of work with Emily Carr and also MIT, and it helps that schools often have funding that smaller companies don't to go out and do this research that's really important, that helps the industry and also helps bring that next generation into the conversation. So it's just really nice to see that these partnerships starting to form.
And do you find that because it is students, it is just as effective as if you had someone who maybe had more experience in the field, or do you think
maybe more? Because their ideas can be so blue sky. Maybe their ideas aren't applicable in industry as they are fresh today, but the ideas are what, anything comes from. So it's important to have that blue sky imagination of like, oh, what if? Can't stop asking that.
Alejandro brought up a good point with price being a big challenge potentially for keeping a sustainable brand. Would you say that's one of your biggest challenges, or do you guys have what would be your biggest challenge right now of creating a sustainable brand?
I mean, it's always more expensive to be more sustainable, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But it comes down to like passion and values and the reason why you're doing it. But I think like the scariest part about sustainability, and I love when you're talking about students and like the blue sky, and it's almost this unjaded perspective, whereas like I've worked for a sustainability consulting company and I have this like jaded perspective, like sometimes there's no solution. But I think sometimes it's like picking almost your battles. And Miriam LaRoche from Eco Fashion Week always used to talk about an eco recipe. And it was like, you can't do everything and you can't do everything perfectly. So choose like the things, whether it's vegan, whether it's toxic free, whether it's zero waste, plastic free. Choose like the things that you can do and you can do well, because you're not going to be able to do everything. Maybe one day you will, and that's your blue sky that you're driving towards. But like pick the sustainability values that are most aligned to your brand or your company or your product, and go for those as hard as you possibly can. Do those perfectly, and then the other ones will come with time. Right. And that's what I like constantly have to remind myself. I'm like, we can't do everything, because then we would be broke.
Right.
Yeah.
We have to get a lot of funding or something. Yeah. For Well Kept, you said you put up a blog post about the harmful impact of online shopping. Can you guys give us a quick rundown of tips to minimize the environmental impact of online shopping without compromising on convenience?
Yeah, I mean, don't online shop. No. I mean, it's always good to shop local, but no matter what, whether you're shopping online or locally, you always want to know where the products are coming from, because like when you're looking at the back end of it, of like where they're produced, where they're traveling from the inputs to the factory, to the wholesaler, to the packaging company, like you just don't know that entire supply chain. So it's always good to know whether you're at a retail store or online, like what is that supply chain and how impactful is it and how sustainable is that? So really comes down to asking questions. I think with online shopping specifically, asking those questions as well of how they're shipping their online. Don't overnight things. That's always going to be traveling by air. The emissions on that are so much more impactful than something that's coming by ground or sea. So let it take its time. Ask them if they're packaging it without plastic, without the plastic peanuts, or there's like, they now have peanuts that you can put in the water and they just dissolve down the drain. So ask those questions of the companies that you're shopping from, because they either will have the answers or they'll be forced to think about those answers, and it's kind of pushing that sustainability strategy into them. Try not to return things. That's just doubling the emissions. And a lot of companies don't actually resell the product that you're returning. They're just going to throw it out. They don't have the money or the resources to quality check it, make sure it hasn't been damaged. So then they just throw it out. I think just asking is the most important thing. I know Amazon, you can now go into the customer service chat window and ask them to make sure that all of your orders are always plastic free, always shipped in one box, not like 3 boxes per order. So asking and making those changes.
And it kind of encourages buying things one at a time as well, right? So
convenience.
How do you deal with returns and shipping to try to keep as sustainable as possible?
We with returns, depending on whether we don't have a lot of returns, and a return would generally be if someone's dropped something and it's damaged or something, and so we generally say to recycle it, and because we don't need it to be shipped back and forth because it's technically going to be damaged. But what we're going through right now is looking at our carbon footprint. And so that's something that's really important to us because shipping is something we do as an online retailer. We ship completely plastic free. We ship in as small packages as possible. We don't overnight anything. But we're looking at figuring out what is that full carbon footprint and those emissions that we're creating by shipping things. And so how can we offset that by investing in something else? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we wanted to ask Native Shoes, you have this amazing initiative called Remix Project. We wanted you to walk us through what that is and the process of remixing Native Shoes.
Okay, sure. Remix Project is an initiative that Native Shoes started to essentially take back unwanted shoes, new or unworn or worn and destroyed. There's actually 4 parts to the process, and it really focuses on, if we think about reduce, reuse, recycle, we look at reuse and recycle. So when the shoes come back to us, we have partnerships with Zappos, with Canada Post, and also recycle bins in all of our retail stores. If you're done with your Native shoes, you can ship them back to us through two of the streams if the shoes are still reusable, depending on how worn they are or if they're in really pristine quality. There's 2 different paths we go through in terms of giving and donating back to our community here in Vancouver. And then in terms of the recycle piece, if it's something with a traditional footwear construction where it has a textile upper, then we have a partner in Germany that will actually take back all of the threads and textile materials and turn that into new textiles for industry use. And then anything plastic or rubber, I think this is what most people think about when they think of our Remix project. It gets ground up into little pellets, and it's not just old shoes, but also things like when you injection mold something, you get a little plastic noodle from the pipe. That gets all ground up again. And we built a playground near here, and all the reground material is underneath the mat because our shoes are really great for cushioning. They're super light. It's the new cushion that goes under that playground. So I think that'll be open this summer, but it's fully built. And that took maybe, I think, 10,000 individual shoes reground. So giving it new life.
Whereabouts so we can go play?
It's called China Creek, which I don't actually know. I'm really disoriented in this building, but...
And those were, a lot of them were from people sending you old shoes?
Sending us old shoes. Actually, I think the majority came through our retail store. It's actually been really well received for us. I think if you come in and donate in your old shoes, you want to upgrade to something new, then there's a little bit of a discount you can get when you buy your next pair. It's been really popular. And then Zappos for Good as well. Lots of traffic coming through that.
It's cool to get your, it's also great because it benefits you as well in terms of marketing to really get your client base involved, or your customers involved in the conversation like that. So I thought it was such a unique.
Thanks.
Yeah,
and I
really
think
cool.
the innovation keeps going. If you visit our Gastown store or any of our stores, another use for the regrind is to compression mold it into the cushions on the chairs. And it comes out in these giant big blocks, and we slice them. And the research that's going on in the company is actually how can we collect that dust and maybe turn that into something new, whether it's through 3D printing or who knows. This is part of the work with the students. So
it is cool that, because you, as Native, you're a big brand now, like at least locally. I mean, we were talking about this earlier. Apparently, I thought Native, because I live in Vancouver, so Native seems like such a renowned name, and then you were telling me that it is a renowned name, but it's not like worldwide, which I assume everyone knew about Native shoes.
We're an international brand, but I wouldn't say the brand recognition is at the level of Nike or Adidas or something like that.
But you're very well known in Vancouver.
Yes.
But how would you say, if I had an idea and it's just an idea, what would be like, how did you take that idea to the next step? Like, did you do research online to kind of find, okay, how can I get this done? Like, what would be the next step from that idea? Like, how do you do it?
There's so many steps.
I know, I'm like, question mark, question mark.
Like, you mean from, day one idea?
Prototyping.
Yeah.
And,
oh my gosh. Like you were talking about going into the wormhole.
Yeah, just
like
go
when
down
you,
the wormholes.
Yeah. I've been doing product sourcing, or not product, packaging sourcing for the last week. And like, I haven't left my house in 4 days. I've just been like fully in the wormhole of like trying to find like the sourcing, the sustainability. Like, it's kind of crazy. I don't know if there's like a specific route that I can give.
But you don't have like any consultants or anything that you bring on. You're just kind of going out there calling people, figuring things out.
Yes and no. Like, depending on what it is. Like, I think at first, like, it's like an idea. You have an idea, you have a passion, you have an interest, like, you run with that, and to like get as much research as you possibly can yourself, and then talk to those external people, the experts in sustainability, or experts in like design, packaging, branding, whatever, wherever you need those resources from, and getting that outside expertise.
It's a long process. It's a long process.
Definitely persistence, and just always asking the question that's on the back of your mind, that's kind of tickling or sitting in your gut. You can't let those ideas go, because otherwise they get
For me,
nowhere.
there's a lot of wrestling too. It's like, oh, if we go with that paper, but then it's got that little plastic piece in it, but it looks so good, and then you're like, we can't do that. We have to, and then how? And that's from the frosted or the frosted glass to actually sandblasting glass to see if and then looking at that and going, well, it looks good, but the process of sandblasting is really ugly. So so we can't do that anymore. So we're going back to a label.
How many years have you been in? Native has been.
Native's been around for almost 11 years now.
How about you, JoAnn?
Well, this rendition of the company is 3 years, but I started Sappho in 2008.
Okay. And how about you?
A couple years, yeah.
Couple years. Have you, I guess you've been the most recent, but have you seen any change in what's available out there? Have you seen any change in the price point of things now? Like, I'm assuming because more people are demanding it, more people are making it, therefore the price is less expensive, or have you seen any change? She's like, no.
Not really.
I don't think we're really at the point yet where businesses have been able to see the raw materials drop in price yet.
There isn't the volume, the numbers yet.
But it comes back to your values. I think all three of us have talked about company values and that guiding our decision making. So when Native Shoes decides to make a new product, we look at sustainability, innovation, fit, form, and function. And of course, the highest rated are sustainability and innovation now. So that having a set of values, even in your own mind, can help.
And money people are starting to be interested in that as well. They're starting to see that there is a life to have in sustainability, and they want to be part of the solution, I think.
How do you guys navigate keeping, all of you have very fair pricing, so how do you keep your prices so fair while also kind of negotiating with, the cost of the values that you have?
So let's keep lean. I guess that's what we're talking about.
Don't pay yourself.
Don't pay yourself.
Anybody else interested in the dream?
We do source our bottles and our paper from China. And so without that, I think we'd be sunk. But it's not for lack of trying. I mean, honestly, we've just written every single printer and company in North America and Mexico and Europe, and it's very difficult. So you have to, you have to pick your battles. And for me, the ingredients and the formula and the I guess the vessel, it has to be glass, or plastic is biodegradable in the landfill in 2 to 5 years instead of 2 to 500. All that kind of stuff is important. And sometimes, where I disappoint myself is in our boxes in that sense. But at the same time, we don't do any plastic in our boxes, and everything is done as best as we can. So.
Right. For Well Kept, we were interested to know with this kind of, especially with a company focusing around the safety razor. I know you have a lot of other products as well, but that razor is kind of your go-to product. Yeah. So how are you navigating the hair acceptance and body positivity way, like that? Yeah.
Well,
idea.
As I said, I'm very well kept.
Yeah.
No, I think for us, we're all for hair, no hair, laser, sugar, waxing, whatever you want to do. We're not at all women need to be clean shaven. Totally. And that's all. We're all for whatever you feel and whatever you want. But at the end of the day, people shave. Yeah. And if you're going to shave, why not do it sustainably and with a razor that's not going to cause irritation and ingrown hairs?
Yeah.
So
that's another thing that is definitely worth noting, is that not only is your product more sustainable, it actually is going kind of back to a razor that's actually more effective. Yeah. The plastic disposal ones are actually kind of useless. They cause a lot of irritation. Yeah. So that's a really cool piece of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, what she's saying is we've been told the more blades the better, but actually the first blade takes the hair, the second blade takes a layer of skin, and then the third blade and so on are just causing more and more irritation on your skin. And so then when your skin regrows, that grows over your pores, and then your hair tries to grow through, and that's how you get ingrown hair. So it's max 6 blades are actually going to cause you more irritation than just having one single sharp blade that you're carefully shaving with. So simple is better. And I think that's with the prices question, we do pay ourselves, but very minimally. But I think we keep things very simple. And that's what we've had to do with focusing on sustainability, is keep things simple in the packaging and the products, and even the marketing. And we'd love to be doing so much more, but it is keeping it simple so that it's financially sustainable.
But you're also, I don't think that's people need to know that it's not because of the fact that it's a sustainable brand. I think anyone launching, you're 2 years in, anyone launching a product is going to have that kind of growth. It's going to be hard at the beginning. You have to invest in the research, and you guys literally created this blade. Yeah. So there's a lot involved in cost involved in that. So it's not something to stop people from going about it that way. Yeah. By Sappho, we were interested to know if you have a cool celebrity story as an Emmy Award winning artist or nominated artist.
Oh, well, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. I've met a lot of celebrities, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, they're all the same.
I met, I worked on Jump Street back in the day, as an assistant, but I did meet Johnny Depp really drunk one night. And he asked me what my favorite line was of a movie. And I had just been working on a set the night before it was actually really terrible. And I think what I'm going to say is really terrible. But it was there was a Mexican murderer. Yeah. And his line that he said all night was, "I killed your mother, I feed her to the pigs." And I said that to Johnny Depp, and he thought that I was the most brilliant person he had ever met. He was very drunk. And I wasn't. So that's really it's boring. It's you just do your work, and you know, some people are nice and some people are not nice, and
Right.
Yeah.
So this is your passion.
Yeah.
No, I mean I meant the product.
Sappho is my passion now. Well, my passion now is offering the world a product that, you know, you're not going to have to guess about, that is going to not mess your endocrine, your hormones, and is, you know, something that you can trust, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for Native Shoes, your Native Shoes is trying to offset the amount of virgin plastics being used. One example being the Bloom algae-based foam shoes. Can you share your process on developing the alternative material from ideation, research, and production?
Yeah, definitely. We started hearing rumblings about this Bloom material a few years ago. It takes like, I don't know, a year and a half from when we start designing a product to when it hits the market. We started hearing about it at material shows. Adidas had launched something in the insoles. Yeezy just launched his Bloom shoe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it looks insane. Very cool. But anyways, let me explain what Bloom is. Bloom is a company that we're partnered with, and what they do is they go into these freshwater areas that have just been completely dredged down by algae. Algae can be great for an ecosystem in the right amounts, but it can also just go completely out of control. It's really invasive. So Bloom, what they do is they go in and they pull out this algae material, clean it out. They get this disgusting sludge, dry it into plates, pulverize it into a powder, and then make little pellets out of it. We end up mixing that with EVA, which is the name of the plastic that we use to injection mold shoes like this. And it works really well. The algae material is great because it has really similar thermoplastic qualities to what you would find in an EVA, what we're trying to offset. Right now, the Jeffersons that come with the Bloom algae, it's only actually about 10% algae material, but still that 10% means that we've cleaned 80 liters of water, we've captured about 18 balloons of CO2 from being released back into the atmosphere, and we've offset the amount of plastic that would normally go into these shoes. We're looking at expanding it into other styles in our collection, and we're looking at how we can mix this algae material, not just with EVA, but other materials that you would typically find in our collection, like TPR, rubber, things like that. So they've been a really great partner for us. It's amazing that they've shared this technology with so many brands across the footwear industry. It's just been really cool. Was there something specific you wanted to know about?
I wanted to know about it because it's kind of a complicated technology.
Yeah.
But is it also to get rid of the algae as well? Is that part of it?
Yeah, and it's great because it's a renewable resource.
Mm-hmm.
It'll grow back eventually. And the thing with Bloom is too, since they have such a strong partnership with Adidas, is they've gone to the lake that's right near their factories in China. So again, talking about transportation, you kind of cut that step out. They do have, I guess, harvesting sites in the USA, but since we do a lot of manufacturing in China, it's nice to know that we can cut that step out of the process there.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
So you also, I know Native is very innovative when it comes to like kind of materials that you use. You also have the first biodegradable shoe in the world, right?
I don't know if it's the first biodegradable shoe in the world.
Oh, that's what I thought.
Like leather will biodegrade eventually.
Right, that's true.
So not to take away from the people before us, but yes, we launched a plant-based shoe, and it's an idea that we're hoping to build out. The cool thing about it is that you can almost name every single plant in that shoe. There's pineapple, cotton, flax, jute, hemp,
And it looks like
rubber.
It doesn't look like salad.
Yes, it looks like a shoe. And so, yeah, we just did a small run to test out, like, if we could set out to do what this crazy idea was, to make a plant-based shoe. And since we actually were able to accomplish something, we're going to try and build it out a lot more. We actually have 2 designers in Portugal right now researching how we can build on this idea. I think the hardest part isn't actually finding the materials, but in how can you construct the shoe, because as soon as certain glues are ruled out, then if they're plastic based, it becomes a lot more difficult to make a shoe.
Right. Are there any other materials that could replace glue, or I guess that's the challenge right now for you guys?
The shoe that launched has a jute thread that runs through it that kind of creates that reinforcement bond between what we call the upper, the textile piece, and the outsole, the rubber on the bottom. But that's part of the research, right? Trying to figure out innovative ways to connect all the parts together. And as I mentioned earlier, the shoe is in a composting cycle test right now. I get pictures every month of this moldy shoe. So we can hopefully eventually tell everyone exactly how long it will take to break down.
Right.
And those tests are expensive.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't see the bill for that one, actually.
I'll tell you that.
We want to be able to back up what we say we're trying to set out to do. And obviously, every step of the way, it's a bit of an experiment for us too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all of you are very innovative. That's a really key piece. What steps do you think need to be taken to make a more sustainable future?
Like in your industry specifically, like what are some, like, if you could say, if people in my industry changed this one bit, they would help so much overall. Like, what would you say is that one thing that people
For me, if I can start, one thing, it's great to see so many people here that are interested in it, because coming into a company that didn't have this idea of sustainability right at the start, it's been hard, to make the change along the way. If it's one of your core values when you set out to develop, then you're going to launch a product, that is sustainable. You're not going to have to say, we're sustainable, and then a year and a half later be like, and here's the proof, Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of people that even just come into our doors that are like, we want to be sustainable, but then they're not acting on it. It's almost like the idea of greenwashing, right? So it needs to be something that's thoroughly through there, built into the business.
Yeah, I mean, in my industry, that's what it is. It's the greenwashing.
Yes.
It's kind of hard to take. It's the use of plastics, the overuse of plastics, and the use of certain ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
Things like silicones and dimethicone, and you read a lot of different things. And I don't take a lot of chances with that stuff, because if I read once that somebody said that dimethicone is fine because the fish could actually swim to another area, and they would discharge the dimethicone from there. But I'm like, well, who's going to be down there? Telling them to go over there. Schools of fish. I don't know. I mean, there's just and the use of plastic. The use of plastic in the cosmetic world is absolutely disgustingly gross. And so I'm going to show you something.
Yeah.
Yay!
This is something I've been working on for a year. I got it yesterday. This is a new Forever compact that we have designed. And so it's the first in a reusable system, so that when you take your makeup and you can just put it in, and it's but it's metal, so it will last forever.
It's it probably feels a lot more luxurious.
It feels great. It's not super
beautiful.
heavy, but it's beautiful, and it's just really simple. And so we're hoping to create a line where there's reusable lipstick tubes everything that you do, you just pop into a little container, stick it in your purse, and off you go, or in your bag or wherever.
Very cool.
And so that, so this is the sort of I did one actually 8 years ago, and I still have it. It's got a beautiful art piece on it by Carl M. Lewecki. But I didn't know about design at that time, and it actually doesn't work very well. So I lost a lot of money because the little piece, there's a little pin, and in your purse, it hits the pin and it opens, and your stuff goes through. So it was a big learning curve for me.
Life of an entrepreneur.
But I've had these ideas. That was like 8 years ago. So this is my second try at it, and working with designers and for prototypes, and being really patient and knowing that's going to take 1.5 years for it to actually come to fruition.
It's a great idea. Yeah, congratulations. I think especially when you see so many palettes where people just use those 3, and then they just hit pan on those 3, and then the whole thing's useless, and they have to buy a whole nother piece,
exactly, right? Yeah, so it's something that makeup artists have been doing for years, and actually MAC had the plastic ones for many years, and then we came out with paper ones, but now we want to go into metal, because metal is the most prized recyclable material, and it's also the most durable, so we know it will last the longest.
Great.
So
what would you say?
What was the question?
What was one thing you'd change what's one big change in your industry that would help?
I mean, the shaving industry is like a very big disposable industry, so stop throwing your razors out for one. They estimate, and this was like in the 90s, I think, that 2 billion plastic razors are disposed of annually in the US alone. So like multiply that by all the countries and all the people that we have now. Yeah, it's kind of a disgusting number. And I think like with that idea is like, my biggest ask is like change your convenience habits, because we're all so accustomed to convenience and plastic and disposables and having things immediately come to us. And I think when we try and get away from that convenience lifestyle, you kind of slow down and you use products that last a long time, that are good quality, that are better for the environment, better for you, and maybe aren't as convenient, but they're better for everyone in the long run. So I think that's a little bit about changing your habits, but asking those questions to understand where your products are coming from as customers, and then also as business owners, of knowing where your metal's coming from in your boxes and your rubbers and your bloom algae and all of that. So it's really about asking questions, because it sort of opens up the conversation with all parties.
I think we wanted to open up the conversation with the audience soon.
Yeah.
So maybe we have one more question.
I think one more thing that I think everyone wants to know is, what advice would you give to somebody trying to start a brand and inventing a product on this whole journey? What would be a big piece of advice you give, or a big learning takeaway?
I think for me, and I hope I haven't been too negative or anything, because sustainability is scary and entrepreneurship is even scarier, but or the other way around. But it's also seeing you hold that product. I know how much that means to you, and when you said that you saw our products at Formation Studio, hearing people say that, and even when I see my products on shelves, I'm like, oh my gosh, I made that, that's my business, that's my baby. And it's so rewarding. It really, truly is. And it's so challenging, but overcoming those challenges and seeing the product and knowing that you're making a positive difference in people's lives and in the environment is so rewarding at the end of the day. And so if you do have an idea and you do have a passion, do it. I took a long time creating my safety net and getting our business going and burning the candle at both ends. And working full time before I jumped into it. And so I would almost say that's a regret of mine that I didn't do it sooner, but I also personally needed the security before I did it. So have that balance. But do it. If you have an idea, do it. We won't regret it.
That's awesome advice. Yeah. I think for me, it would be, it's a really tough question. I've said it a lot tonight, but just keep asking, what if? It's one of our company pillars, and I feel like it's the one that I most relate to, because just if you stop being curious, then how can you ever grow? So if you have ideas, even if you don't know how to move forward, if you start asking the questions to your friends, to your family, somebody somewhere is going to have an answer. And even if they don't have the answer, they might have the next person that you can talk to. The partnerships that we've formed in the footwear industry have been unbelievable in helping us move towards our sustainability goals. So I think that's what I would say. Just keep asking questions. Be really persistent.
I think persistence is it's really important. Henry Thoreau said something like, walk in the directions of your dreams and live the life that you have imagined. And things will come to you in uncommon hours. And I think that's all about walking in your passion. And so if you have an idea, you do it, and you just do it, and you show up and you see what happens. And you do it, sometimes I wake up in the morning, I'm not really sure what's going to happen. And I just, my mantra in the morning is, how can I serve Sappho today? Because that's how I see it. I'm serving something bigger than myself. And so I think that's what is, I think, my best advice is to go with your passion and to also get a good accountant.
Yeah, agreed.
So we feel that pain with that comment.
Oh, yeah.
5 years in.
Going through that right now.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you again so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for.